All right, guys. So now it's time to move on to the last step, prepping our video for social media. It's one of those things where as platforms like TikTok, Instagram, etc. have exploded, vertical videos get 30 to 35% more views and 80 to 100% more engagement, meaning that every widescreen video you make needs to have some vertical videos, vertical or square videos created from it because they're going to get more engagement on those platforms. So let's walk through this process. Now, these steps are very specific. You must do them in the orders that we go through them. Otherwise, you're going to run into all sorts of weird problems. Footage is not going to be where you would expect it. So just walk through this, pause it regularly, do each step as you need to. So we're going to take the master sequence we've been working on, we're going to duplicate it, and then we're going to rename that new sequence. So here's my Nathan Adam or my social edit. I'm going to go and find it here. If you're not sure, if you've accidentally made too many like I have right here, you'd want to like stash these someplace else. I've got a little folder here called other sequences. So I've just got one sequence, so I'm not worried about using the wrong one. But if you're not sure, you can right click on this and just choose show in or reveal sequence in project. When you do that, boom, it shows you right there. So let's go ahead and right click on that one. I'm going to choose duplicate. And now that it's duplicated, it says to go ahead and rename it 2450, last name social edit 9:16. Last name, first name, social edit, and 9x16. So instead of 16:9 widescreen, this one's going to be 9:16. So we're going to rearrange this to be vertical. So go ahead and double click that, open it up here in the timeline. So we now have two identical timelines. Straightforward, but make sure you're paying attention to which one is which. So we've duplicated the master sequence. We named that new sequence this. Then we're going to select all the video clips in the new sequence and we're going to nest them. So here we go. I'm going to select all the video clips, click, select, and drag over all the video clips, right click, and watch what happens when we choose nest. Nest says, okay, what do you want me to call this? I'm just going to call it nest 9x16, and boom. What it did is it collapsed all of those clips into a new sequence. You see, it only has the video clips in there and it put them in. So nesting is a way of taking a bunch of clips and making them to where they just appear as a single clip. But if you double click on it, it actually will reveal it in its own sequence. And in fact, you can see that over here, nest 9:16. So we now have all of those clips in there. Great, we're in step one. So make sure you do those exactly. Now right click on the new sequence and we're gonna change its resolution. So I'm gonna go to our new sequence. So make sure we're using the 9:16 sequence. I'm going to right click on this and choose sequence settings right here at the top. And we're going to change this from 1920 by 1080 widescreen. We're going to swap those 1080 by 1920. And that's all we need to do. As soon as I hit OK, boom, it's going to say, hey, we're going to have to delete all preview files. In other words, any of those little rendered bits that we did earlier are going to have to be rendered again. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you see that it's changed this to be a vertical format. The sequence, this 9:16 sequence, now has a vertical 1080 by 1920 size. And you can see that her video just appears in the middle of it. Okay, so that's our first step. So now we need to go in and add a text title at the top, 4 steps to easy A's in nursing school, recolor it so it stands out, and use a non-serif font. You already know how to do this, but I'm going to simply come in. Let's go to our window menu and open up our essential graphics. And then we could go through and choose something from in here, or you could go back into your nest and find one of those things that you used. But in this case, I want to make sure I'm using the same font styles. Let me just find a nice, I could go to my basic as well. Basic lower third or basic title. I drag and drop this on. Select my text and you can see it right there. Then I'm going to go ahead and let's just double click it to edit it. Come to our text and we're going to call this 4 steps to easy A's in nursing school. Now, that is not exactly super cool looking, so I'm going to select it right here, switch to my V key. So my V key will switch to my primary selection tool, and that'll let me select this and drag it up. Now let's go ahead and let's just fill this screen with it. So I'm going to drag that and make it fit nice and big. But then also I want to make a few little changes here. So I want to take something like 2 and let's drop the size of that quite a bit. Let's see if 60. 4 steps to easy A's. I'm going to change those to 60 as well. And the reason for doing this is to help those key words, the things that are going to grab the viewer's attention and have them stand out. So 4 steps to easy A's in nursing school. Really cool. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with what we had earlier. Let's go back to our previous edit and whatever colors we were using there. So for example, if I open this one up, got that line color, I'll select that. And whatever colors that you went with, just go ahead and let's do the same thing. So I'm going to select the word to here, go to the fill, and I've copied and pasted that color. So now that'll match the colors in the video. Go to this word, select it, and now we've got 4 steps to easy A's in nursing school. So you see how that's really going to stand out a lot better. So I'm going to take this and let's just go ahead and stretch that out. One quick tip, if you have an edge selected like this, if you go to the very end of the video, so right here, for example, let me get over here to the end of our video, then you can simply hit the E key and that will extend the edit. So you see I had that edge selected, I just clicked on the edge, and E will extend whatever that clip is to the playhead. Boom, it's a quick way of filling it out for the whole thing. And now we see that that's holding up there at the top. Good stuff. All right, so we added the text title. We used a non-serif font like Montserrat. Let's make sure that we've got that. Nope, I've got Myriad Pro, but we used Montserrat in the previous video, so I'm going to go with Montserrat, and let's make it nice and bold. Ooh, pretty good, but let's maybe try to shrink this down just a little bit. Back to our V key, and let's just shrink that down until it all fits. Beautiful. All right, that's fitting pretty good right in there. Okay, so we've opened this. We've got our text title in the top, 4 steps to easy A's in nursing school. And while we're at it, I actually want to, I'm going to take this nest right here. I want to take that, and I want that to be a little bit bigger. I don't want quite this much empty space. I want this to feel a bit more like a vertical video than a square one. So I'm going to take that one. Let's go to our effect controls. So Shift 5, and let's grab that scale. And I'm just going to click in here, and as you use the up arrows, it's actually going to move this up and up and up. And let's find a spot where she's talking. There we go. I can see this. So I want to move my scale and position to where she's nice and filling the screen. So if I just hit the up arrow, you see it moves this up. And now I'm going to bring this one over to the left just a little bit. And that's going to scooch her over. So now I've got her centered in the frame. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so she's nice and centered in the frame. Pretty good. So I'm going to scroll through and just see how much this other stuff fits in the frame already. You can tell that we're going to have to fix and adjust our styles here, our texts and our fonts, any of our graphic titles that we've made. We're going to need to resize those and move them someplace so they're visible. But I think that this is pretty good. She fills up the screen and it leaves some room for closed captions here at the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead now. We've got our text title. We've used our fonts. And now it's time to move on to create some captions. Now, just if you're like me and you like to have not just this black background behind the video, I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to move it up one level. Option up arrow moves this any selected clips up a level. And I'd like to put something behind this video. So actually, I even need to move the nest up a level. So now I'm going to come through here, do a new item, and let's go ahead and do a color matte. When I make this color matte, I'm going to pick a color. In fact, let's just go pop in that same color. And I'm going to call this pink background. And now I've got my pink background that I can pop here into this track. I can select that edge. I can come over to the end and I can click E, extend the edit. And you can tell now that has put that whole nice pink background. That makes even more sense, except that now, of course, my pink text doesn't work right here. So maybe we just go back and change those all to white. So let's select everything in our text and go to our fill, make those all white again. And Premiere's just going to freak out, but there we go. 4 steps to easy A's in nursing school. Stands out nice and clear. I like that pink better. All right, now we need to add some captions. So open the text menu under the window text menu. So window, and let's go to text. And here you can see that there's any text that we've used in the project. We're going to create a new caption track and import a file that has already been captioned. So I'm going to come to this. Let's go do an import, Command I, and we're going to go to my project and look for in my common media folder that SRT file. I think, not sure where I put it, probably put it in production paperwork. This is one of the reasons that you want to have This is one of the reasons you want to have a fully effective. There it is. I put it in my project files. That makes sense. So social edit captions and import. And when it imports it, you can see there's our social edit captions and it's ready to go. So we've imported the SRT file. We need to create a new caption track. In this case, if I simply drag and drop, you can see it says drop here to add a new captions track, and I'm dragging it and dropping it above the video tracks themselves. When I let go, it says, what do you want? A format subtitle or specific types of captions? We're going to go with subtitles, so it burns them in on the screen. And let's just go from the very start point, from the start of the timeline, and I'm going to hit OK. And let's see how that looks.
Look, if you're a struggling nursing student, you should be studying less and living more. The problem is you don't understand.
Okay, so that's actually working pretty good. Now those text files, or the font here is not super large, and we can come in and do things like change the font. So if I came in here, I change the font to Montserrat, or let's see if I can actually change them all. I'm going to go and change them all to Montserrat. And let's make them all to Montserrat regular. Oh, that's getting a little better. And let's take that size and let's bump that up just a little bit. There we go. And that is actually starting to look better.
Look, if you're a struggling nursing student, you should be studying less and living more. The problem is.
Okay, we do need to make sure that it is located well. So this looks like it's getting just a little too high. So we can come and adjust that a little bit. If I were to grab these and grab this horizontal position, you see that'll move it left to right. I'm going to undo that. And this one will set the vertical position. So let's drag that down just a little bit. It's already aligned here at the bottom of the screen, so we might just need to lower the size just a hair. There we go.
You don't understand nursing school, or you don't know how to read hundreds of pages, take the right notes, or study for exams.
Awesome. So that's now has our caption track in place, and we've got that captioned. So with that said, we're now ready to go through, and we need to adjust all of our graphics. So we're going to need to edit. We've edited the captions. We set the subtitle font. We centered it. And we adjusted the font size to be legible. And now we need to rearrange all our text titles and images to fit in this particular format. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to the very beginning, and I'm just going to hit play. And
look,
with this
if
playing,
you're
okay, we can see right off the bat that her name is not fitting on the screen. No problem. I'm going to come down to my nest, double click it. It's going to take me to that exact same spot here in this nested sequence. For some reason, it needs a second to figure out where it's at. Okay, but I can find that title. So let's take this title. I'm going to select the title, and I'm going to pop here, and let's change our size. Let's go to our effect controls. We've got all these parameters, and we could try just simply scaling it. So right now, this is looking a little funky. There we go. But we could try simply scaling it down. So grab the scale of that clip and bring it down a little bit, or we could select position and scale and simply try to move it over. And if you're not sure if it's going to fit, jump back over to the 9:16 edit, and you can see I'm close, but basically it needs to be inside of her, between her arms. So good enough. I'm going to go back to 9:16, jump in here, and I just need to select position or scale and scale this down until all of that appears between her arms. Let's just try to resize this and make sure that we don't not lose anything on the screen. And that looks pretty good. Now when I switch back to my edit, boom, fits perfectly. So now we're going to scroll through here and look for anything that doesn't fit on the screen. Double click on our nest, go back to that, and we know it pretty much needs to fit within her frame, so between each shoulder. So let's select that one. Shift 5 takes us back to our effect controls. I'm going to select position or scale. Let's bring that over here, and let's just scale this down. Maybe we put it right over the top of her. That might work. And in fact, we could probably just go ahead and do this to several of them. So I grab this next one, grab it, grab the scale, bring it down. That looks pretty good. Maybe this next one. And we can just essentially try to go through it. It's a pretty quick process if we just want to get them close. So let's just bring it down. And I'm just going to quickly go through and essentially keep tweaking these. Oh, looks like I didn't have quite the right one. Here's this one. How to take the right notes. Grab position or scale. Looks like. And either Premiere is just taking a second to, there we go, pretty close. There we go. And let's select position or scale and move it over right there in the middle. Now, there might be times like with this video right here where she's a little off screen. So we might end up actually needing to move her over into the frame. Let's go back and look at it now. So we go through, the name is good. Study less, live more is good. Here's this girl. She's a little off screen though. And this text needs brought over. And let's go ahead and move her video over since we're only going to see the middle of it. Double click on our nest. Let's select the underlying video, this clip of her, grab our position and scale. Now, in this case, you can tell when I select this clip, if I try to move it, it's actually trying to move this underneath. So I don't want to move the underneath clip. I want to move this top clip, which is the B-roll. So that was my problem there. So I'm going to grab that, just move it over, and let's grab that motion title, select position, and move that over. Now we can jump back to our main sequence, and let's see if that looks any better.
The problem is you don't understand.
There, she's a little bit more centered. You don't understand nursing school, so we want to make sure that that looks good. We can always just keep going back. Grab our motion title, let Premiere catch up. I don't know, who knows what's going on with it. Grab this position and scale, grab position, give it a second to catch up, and let's just move that over just a hair more. It is funny. Well, Premiere sure seems to be fighting right now, but you understand the process, and for whatever reason, I might need to simply restart Premiere. But let's go back over and see. So you can tell now we're getting her aligned more, we're getting the text in here more. It's starting to look a lot better. If we see something like this where the text is just not quite fitting, we probably are just going to need to select all those fonts again, maybe bring it down just a hair, maybe bring it down to like, there we go. 53 looks like that's going to fit just fine. But let's scroll through and make sure that everything is good. Okay, looks like none of this text is popping up. So your task now is to go through and essentially change all of your graphics and video backgrounds so that there's something, this topic of interest is where is filling up that middle of the screen. So let me grab that minimal motion title, select my position graphic. It seems like it's going. Going to take just a second. Come on, Premiere. Let's save. There we go. I've got the position selected, and now we can move this over. So we'll just move that into the center, and Premiere will just keep freaking out for whatever reason. But that is the process. Get over there. Now, I do want to point out the one thing we don't want to do is come in here and actually click on that little asterisk or that little anchor point. That's actually this anchor point right here, and that serves a different purpose. I'm going to undo that. It's like Premiere is just being really slow. So I'll try to move this over a little bit, maybe scale it down just a hair. Let's maybe take it down to 75%. And then let's go back over and see, and boom. All right, so that is the process that we need to be able to go through and create our versions. So we edit the captions, we set the subtitle font, we rearranged everything. Of course, you need to go through and finish rearranging actually everything. So shots like this, for example, are not going to make sense if she's sitting off to the side. Open it up, go and find that clip, wait for Premiere to catch back up with us. And then once it's here, we'll simply go and move that over so that the subject, her in this case, grab my position and scale, move her over to the part that we're going to be interested in, and adjust our text title for Studying Less, Living More. Maybe we'll put that above her here in the water so that it's right where it needs to be without covering her up. So let me grab that. Minimal motion title. There's my position. And let's put that above her. Maybe scale it down a hair. And let's jump back over and look. Study less, live more. Cool. So it looks good. We could certainly center it. I'm going to want to move that over to the right just a little bit more if we do. So grab my position and scale and center that just a little bit more. And that's starting to look good. Okay, so there's your process. Go through and do all of that. And then finally, we're ready to export. So we've gotten here to the end. We're going to export both 16:9 and 9:16 files. We're going to name them appropriately, name our project, and upload those to Blackboard. So let's go to our two main edits. Here is our first one. So in this case, all completely done. We've double checked things. Our audio is good. Okay, and so now we need to file, export media, or Command M. So Command M is going to bring up our export. And in this case, it's saying that that it's missing a graphic. So this is a good thing to notice. Offline material is present and will be encoded. So I'm going to hit OK. If you were missing, I'm going to go back to my project. Just go back to the edit window. And in this project, you can tell I actually had one little sound effect that I had done in this one. And so that one is offline. So I'm just going to select that and delete it. But you do want to go through it, play through the whole thing, make sure everything is still there, and then we'll be ready. So Command M. Now it's not giving me any problems. I'm going to go ahead and name these according to the instructions, which is social edit master 16:9 and social edit master 9:16. So social edit -mst 16x9. So this is the widescreen one. Let's put it in my renders folder. So I'm going to go to my whatever the project is I've been working on, into my common media folder, and we're going to put this in the final exported files. So this is for the web, and save, and then it's ready to export. So if we needed to make any changes to our content, you see that it says to use the match source or export format is H.264. This is the most common format used on the web, although newer versions can use H.265, but we're going to stick with H.264 for now. Under the video settings, it says we need to match source. Now you notice this is already on, and by default, it's matching source. So, so that's actually going to leave that, and it's going to match the source. If we wanted to change anything, we actually would turn that off, and we could come and change this to export maybe a standard definition version or something. In our case, we're just going to hit match source, and that's going to match everything from what was in the original edit. Okay, so there's our match source, named our project, it's ready to go, and we'll hit export. So make sure that you just kind of play through it. Also double check that we've got the range is the entire source. So the entire project rather than in to out, because for example, if you had set a in point here and an out point here, then when you go to export this, you'll notice sometimes it'll choose source in to out, and it'll only export wherever those in and out points were. So as long as you choose entire source, it's going to export the whole video. Should be exactly 1 minute, and boom, export. So that's going to go through and export that file. It won't take very long. And then I'm going to come to my 9:16 version as soon as that's done, and we'll do the exact same process. So right now it's just going through and exporting. Assuming Premiere is going to keep going with this, then we will have a file generated and done momentarily. All right, and it looks like it is exporting now. So as soon as it is done here, let's just go to our desktop, open this up. Go to the desktop, go into our social ad edit, common media folder, final exported files, and in the web. And there is our file, just about ready. And as soon as it's done, boom, we have our little icon.
Look, if you're a struggling nursing student, you should be studying less and living more.
Beautiful, that's looking great. Now it's time for the other one. Let's open up our 9:16 sequence. It's got our captions. I'm going to Command M. Oh, it says same thing, that material is missing, so it's going to be this little offline file I accidentally have. Delete that one. Let's try it again. Command M, no problems. So this one's going to be 9:16. Make sure we name it appropriately. So social edit master, social edit MST -9:16. It's also going in the web. Match source, adaptive. I think it says match source high bitrate. Great, so we've got that preset, high bitrate. H.264. Our video file is already set to match source and high bitrate, so it's good to go. We're checking that it's sending out the entire source, and we're ready to rock. So I'm going to hit export, and that's going to start encoding that too. So that gives us our files ready to go. We've got these clips. We'll need to take some screenshots after this that we'll talk about in class, but that should get you to a place where you have edited both a great video with all of the pieces you need for editing a project, as well as creating a vertical version for Instagram Reels, TikTok, or any of the other social media platforms where engagement is so much higher with vertical and square videos than it is with widescreen. So, hope this has been helpful. We'll look forward to seeing you in class. If you have any other questions, feel free to give me a holler, and we will talk to you again then. Thanks.